Now, ladies and gentlemen, with the RIO Major being played for CSGO in just a matter of 3 days, a lot of people have been speculating and asking me some questions on my YouTube where I see knife prices going during this said major. Are some finishes and some knives going to absolutely go nuclear like they have before? And what are my current thoughts? And well, if you're unsure of what those people are talking about, here's a quick summary. So the past 2 years for CSGO, and really ever since the newer knives came out, they really haven't been that popular. But s1MPLE, the very famous pro player, decided to use the Nomad knife, specifically the blue gem. And at this point, people got a lot of hype over it. They wanted to have the same knife as him, but most importantly, I think people started to see that the newer knives were actually pretty cool. And that blew up the price, made them go absolutely insane. 2, 3, even 10x for some individual ones. It also very similarly happened to the stiletto knife and a few others, which we're going to be discussing in today's video. But to answer your question on how we can see and how we can know if certain knife prices are going to go up, the best way we can do that is by checking the most famous pro players' inventories of what they have going into the major, and that's what we're going to do in today's video. Now, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that like button and of course subscribe. And here's a quick word from our video sponsor, SkinsMonkey.
Now, today's video sponsor is of course SkinsMonkey. SkinsMonkey is currently the easiest and also fastest way you can buy, but most importantly, trade your CSGO skins. All you have to do is make sure you have your trade link, and on your first trade, if you have a leftover balance, it goes towards your current balance that can be used the next time you end up trading skins. It has 3 ways you can inspect, but most importantly has a very in-depth inspect feature that you can see corners on a karambit, for an example, that you can't really see otherwise unless you have the item in game. If you end up topping up your balance, make sure to use promo code MANDO to get up to a 35% deposit bonus and a free $5 on the first trade.
So the very first pro player I want to take a look at is by far the most famous one and best player in the world at this point, and has been for the past couple years, that being s1MPLE. He's got a pretty crazy inventory for being the best player. He's got a lot of second place finishes as well as one in Stockholm 2021 as a finalist and champion. But s1MPLE he has a pretty beefy inventory, and this is one out of the 3 people we'll be checking for today's video. Now, he's got 3 specific knives that are absolutely crazy with an inventory value of $60,000. His most famous knife, and his probably most favorite, I would say, of all time, has been the Nomad knife for the past couple of years. This is a Nomad knife minimal wear blue gem, which is almost blue on both sides, which is pretty rare, but it looks absolutely beautiful and gorgeous. This knife boosted up the Nomad price quite a bit, and it really hasn't been going down ever since then. And he has 5 knives. So the second one he has is, of course, the skeleton fade with a 99% fade. Now, these are already pretty pricey, and I would already assume if they go up anymore, it would probably be because of him. The skeleton knife is pretty nice, but it's not everyone's favorite, including my own. It's probably the most infamous for its really cool pullout, just like that. And inspecting it, it's pretty nice. The second one is his field-tested karambit blue gem, which is absolutely beautiful. Now, the newer knives in the game probably have the best chance of going up the most just because they're a little less in quantity, they're a little more new, they're a little less stable in price. But this is otherwise a classic, and for something like this, I don't really see it going up too much unless every single pro were to use something like this. But probably the most interesting out of his inventory is the flip knife crimson web with only 1 web on the non-play side. Now, this has been a long time knife inside of CSGO, especially the crimson web. Once was the most expensive knife in the game, now not so much. This I could see have a short-term price hype. Even though it is older, it's not the most expensive. It's pretty reachable for most people. The flip knife's a pretty average tier knife, and the skins on it, the ones you can get anyway, especially something like this, is relatively pretty cheap in that $200 to $300 range. So this I could see rising up in price, and if you have it, you could see some big boy bucks coming along your way. Lastly on s1MPLE's inventory is the stiletto blue gem with the gold tip. Now, this out of any other knife recently has had by far the most big price hype, and people also liking this knife a lot more. I personally still hate it. It looks like a toothpick. My opinions are not going to change. But what will change is, of course, the price behind it if people get on board. During the Antwerp Major and the qualifiers for the RIO Major, this was something that was not minused out to price hypes. This saw like a $50 to $100 increase, not specifically on the case harden, but just on any skin in general, especially some of the higher tier ones. So s1MPLE is a pretty nice inventory, pretty unique one at that, but I think where the interesting possibilities lie are, of course, along that flip knife. We've already seen price hypes with the stiletto, and of course Nomad, will we see them on that? Our next pro player up is, of course, on FaZe Clan, and for people wondering why I'm picking these ones, well, they're the most famous pros who don't have their inventory and profile private. Ever since the big bug recently where if someone gets their Steam ID, they can absolutely crash the entire server that they're on, a lot of pros have privated their inventory, privated their profile for whatever reason. But Twist has by far one of the most expensive inventories I've ever seen in CSGO, but specifically it's 120 grand, but he does have a stiletto case hardened, but a blue gem. like Simple, he does have this as well. This one's a little more blue, especially towards the top, but I'd say Simple's is overall better, especially being blue almost on both sides. But I think where the pro with this stiletto is so far is by far Simple being the best player in the world, Twist being up there as well, and the best team in the world have very similar knives. And if other pro players are using the stiletto as well, it has a very good chance to increase in price. That pretty much wraps it up for Twist. He only really has one knife right now, so that's very interesting to see where that would go, especially the stiletto. Now, the last person I want to check up is, of course, Rops. On FaZe Clan, I would say somewhat of a new member towards them, but he's a very good player. A lot of people enjoy him. People are wondering what he has, and it's nothing crazy. I say crazy, but it is. He's a Karambit Ruby with a very, very clean corner, and just like a lot of other pros, a lot of them use the older knives like the Butterfly, the Karambit, the M9, and of course the regular bayonet. So that pretty much wraps it up for all these pro player inventories. Twist by far is the most expensive one, but the knives are lacking. So the big question is, which knife do I think will go up based out of these three? Now, it's not a lot of people to look at, but it's something you can look at. And for others, a lot of people have very similar knives, being the stiletto and some of the newer ones. Simple having the flip knife Crimson Web has a decent chance to go up. Obviously, all of this is speculation and pretty much would be a gamble at this point. The reason behind it is there's no numbers, there's no statistics, you're just basing it off of other majors. And very similar to Antwerp in 2022, Simple used a Ursus Crimson Web and people tried to price hype that one. Didn't really go so well. People bought them a lot before. Very interested to see where this goes in the future. The flip knife being so old and how many of them are out there, I don't really see those going up too much. But by the looks of other people, including the two we looked at being Twist and Simple, them having a stiletto, technically 1 out of 2, obviously, them having a stiletto, I think has a decent chance to go up. But this was more of just a fun video for me to make. I wouldn't buy any of these knives specifically for the major unless you're going to play with them. And if you're looking for a knife, well, you could pick up one of these possibly and just play with it for the next week or two. And then if it doesn't really go up, you sell it and just move on and buy something else. Because that way, if you're already going to put forward that money, you could just go into something else, worst case scenario later on. Now, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think down below. Which knife do you think personally, if anything does go up, which one will go up? I'm thinking definitely the stiletto, but love to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.